Peace, it's Mo from Clever Chrono. Today I'm going to talk about my experience purchasing my first Rolex at retail. A watch that I've been lusting over for a long time, the 126613LB, better known as the Bluesy. This is my favorite Submariner variation. It's classic. The blue of the bezel and the dial are my favorite shades of blue in the entire Rolex collection, and I knew that this piece would look great on my wrist, especially considering my skin tone. The day I got the call, I was actually working, and I remember I was in the middle of a Zoom meeting and I got a text message from my AD. And so of course I had to divert my attention to this text message immediately. And sure enough, in the text message, she told me that the watch was available to pick up. I was on the list for the OP41 bright blue, the OP41 silver dial, and the Bluesy. Now the crazy thing about the timing of getting this text message when I did was that literally just a week before, maybe not even an entire week, I had gotten another watch. I was trying to be strong and not make another major watch purchase until I got the call. But I'd been waiting for so long at that point. Just about a week before, I purchased the Christopher Ward 12 with the ice blue dial. I figured this watch wasn't that expensive, and it was a new watch that I could ogle over and bide my time until I got the call, if and when I would get the call. So when I got the call from my AD, I was like, oh man, I can't believe I'm getting the call now, just days after I purchased a new watch. But of course, I was like, I'm going to get this watch. And I set up the time to pick it up the following day. I can remember when she first pulled it out and I tried it on for the first time, I instantly fell in love. It was such a surreal experience for it to finally be happening, considering how long I had been waiting. The general manager of the store came over and introduced himself. I had never met him up to that point. We talked for a little while. I had a big event the following week, so it was going to be the first public appearance of the Bluesy on my wrist. So it was just super exciting and a moment I'll never forget. So as for the process and the steps that I had to take to get my Rolex at retail, it took me about a year and 4 months. When I entered the authorized dealer, I was definitely nervous. I did have butterflies, and I was a little bit intimidated, I have to admit. Even though I was nervous, there was a really awesome AD that walked over and introduced herself to me. She was very outgoing, and she immediately asked me if I wanted to try on any of the watches. So of course, I went to try on a bunch of watches. Probably close to a dozen that day. I felt like a kid in a candy store. I tried on Rolex, Tudor, Tag Heuer. It was so awesome. Considering how long it would take to acquire a Rolex, I figured why not start this process by easing in with the Tudor. After looking at all of the Tudors that are out there, I really fell in love with the Tudor Black Bay, the heritage model without the dive bezel. Now online, I really liked the blue dial version, but when I went into the AD and tried it on and saw it, I really didn't care for the hue of blue that they used as much. But when I saw the black dial version of the Black Bay, I instantly fell in love with the glossy black that they used. It was just a gorgeous shade of black. I think I was expecting more of a matte finish dial, but that glossy black just glistened in the sunlight. It was so beautiful. And I wasn't totally committed to buying it right then, but it was one of those impulse buys where it was like, you know what, I'm here, I love it, just do it. And this will hopefully be the start of a great relationship with the authorized dealer. I do remember it was like a Tuesday, it was like a slow day of the week, and there weren't a lot of people in there, so I'm sure she wasn't counting on a sale at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Tuesday. So I think I made her day in that moment. The following day, I went on Yelp to leave them a review and showered them with all the praise. And she actually emailed me a couple days later saying that their social media rep saw the comment and she thanked me for the shout out on social. I followed up on our conversation with a request to get on the wait list for 3 Rolex models. At this AD, you're allowed to get on the list for up to 3 at any point in time. So after that day, I would go to my AD at least once every 3 to 4 months just to hang out and talk a little bit about watches, just to keep the relationship growing and developing. And she would always tell me, just be patient. I promise you, I'm going to get you your watch. I'm going to get you one of these watches. You just got to be patient. And of course, in the meantime, I was on Chrono24 and Swiss Watch Expo and all these different sites looking up watches, but determined not to purchase any of the Rolexes that I was on the wait list for until I got the call. Now, I was about halfway through my 1 and 4 month wait before I finally started getting calls from my AD, but it was for watches that I wasn't on the wait list for. The first time she reached out, it was for an all gold chocolate dial Sky Dweller, which was gorgeous, but was way out of my price range. And I know it is harder for dealers to get rid of precious metal watches than steel or even bimetal watches. So I was offered a couple pieces that way that either I just wasn't interested in or were hella expensive for me at the time. And so I had to turn those down, of course, with some nervousness like, will she actually call me for the watches that I want, considering I'm turning down these other watches that she's offering? But another thing that I did was take a timepiece in to get serviced by their watchmaker. So I was making some like minor spends along the way in addition to the Black Bay that I bought, as well as just coming in to develop the relationship on the friendly tip. So in short, the process took me about 1 and 4 months. I started off the relationship by purchasing a Tudor Black Bay. I went in to visit the AD once every 3 to 4 months just to shoot the shit. I also took a watch in to get serviced along the way, and I was just really patient and made sure that I didn't pester her. Now, almost 4 months later, it hasn't gotten old. I'm still in love with this piece. I still stare at it in disbelief sometimes that it's on my wrist. It felt really awesome to acquire it when I did, right at the launch of this big event that I've been working on for almost a year. And I'm happy to have the variation of Submariner that was actually my first choice. For those of you who are in the market trying to still acquire a Rolex at retail, especially one of the more highly desirable models, I encourage you to just stay patient, keep your eyes on the prize, and you'll probably get that call. If there was anything that I didn't cover in my experience of acquiring my Rolex at retail, or if there are any other questions that came to mind while I described my experience, let me know in the comments and I'll do my best to answer. Till next time.